Hello, Jumbo. My name is David. Hello, Jumbo. Thank you for joining me for a virtual dose of vitamin Z as we bring the Detroit Zoo to you. My name is David, and I'm an education specialist for the Detroit Zoological Society. In spring and throughout the summer, we get used to seeing birds in trees. We wake up in the morning and listen to the chirping of a dozen different birds in the branches by our windows. Sometimes we see hawks or even vultures take a small rest from hunting and scavenging in the trees. Birds and trees go together. We all know this. Unlike all other cranes, the toe on the back of your foot can actually help them grab. It works like our thumbs, clamping down on what we need to grab. Now, but you never see a crane in a tree. So you never see this. You never see any crane or that crane up in the tree, the Sandhill Crane. What we see are different. You can actually look and you can see all the different types of birds in the trees, but no cranes. Cranes are not comfortable holding on to branches and keep themselves in trees. Now that I've told you all this, I'll give you the exception to that rule about cranes. The East African GrayCrowned crane can perch itself in trees. And as we can see right there, it is one crane out of all the cranes. The black-crowned and the gray-crowned crane are the only two in the entire world that can do this. I've told you the how, but let me tell you why, or the why. Generations ago, all across Africa, there was a terrible unebbing rain season that brought with it massive flooding. The rains beat down mercilessly for days, never stopping. Lightning jumped from cloud to cloud and thunder drowned out anyone on the ground. In the drier areas of Africa, this was welcome. Zebra, lion, alike were thankful for the rain and the water it brought in the already wet areas of Africa. The rains brought problems. All the other birds fled when the rains began. My dear friends, my dear crane friends, are you not leaving? Asked the stork. The rains continued to pound and pound and pound. But the cranes decided, well, we are not going to move. But the rain kept on coming. So the rains will only get worse as time goes forward. You should seek higher ground, said the goose. But the tall gray-crowned cranes laughed at them all and said, "You fools worry too much. We are taller than any water that could flow in these marshes. If the rains comes, then so be it." And then all the other birds left. See, the gray-crowned crane lives along the banks of swamps and marshes, eating seeds and frogs like most cranes do. Their long legs let them wade through the waters and they hunt and look for food. But as the rains continued to pour, the water grew higher and higher until the cranes were no longer studying over the water, but were floating on the surface. Only the tall trees still stood high against the water. The cranes looked around and realized their mistake in only a few hours. If the rains continued, they would be up to their heads in water. They cried out for mercy, hoping that someone up there will hear them or might hear them. I just don't understand, said a small voice above them. The cranes looked up and spotted a small bird in the tree. We will drown, say the cranes. We will drown if you cannot help us. I cannot help you, said the small bird. You are just too large for me to carry. The cranes began to cry. The cranes crying, they don't know what to do. But perhaps you could join me on this branch and we could wait out the rain together, said the small bird. The cranes looked up. They did not live in trees like the majority of the birds. Could they stay on a branch? Desperation. They all flew up into the tall tree that the small bird perched in. With their wings wet, they could not fly for a long time, but they could fly long enough to reach the branches on the tall tree. They grasped the branches with their claws and hung on for dear life. And then came a miracle. In fearing dying, the birds actually grabbed onto the branch, holding it as tightly as we would with our own hands. The Sandhill cranes, usually the Sandhill crane overcome the fear of height, acrophobia, because they could not believe that the other cranes remained rooted on the ground. For them, they migrated with the rest of the birds. And you can see, so they stayed up there. You can see the fear in them, and you can see the Sandhill crane right there rooted to the ground. But these, the African gray crane could still come on the ground to feed. But for the Sandhill crane, he continued to stay on the ground. It did not matter. So what happened? The cranes, in order to find food, they started migrating as they had learned from that long, heavy rain. And the first and only cranes to be able to perch on the branches on the trees were the crested or the crowned cranes, African gray cranes or crested cranes. How incredible that was. You could see that the fear that they all did have when that heavy rain came. But here in the U.S., therefore, what happened is, in America, they decided, okay, we'll have to be moving up and down. The brown color is the area where they do the breeding. Then they come down to where they congregate. And then they would migrate down south, all a little further to areas that are warmer, represented by yellow. The key stopover, as you can see, down closer to maybe a little north of Texas. And then in Texas, that's where they winter. It's much warmer there. And of course, in the Caribbean and part of Florida, they are found there. It's much warmer. I guess if I could do that. Well, coming back to the cranes, as you can see, they perform a very wonderful dance. Notice that there is that toe down there behind, and that is what helps them to grab, and they're able to perch up in the trees. They fly, but they can perch up in the trees in case, for example, there's fire or there's danger. And you can see they also have learned to balance with one leg, as most cranes do, and flamingos. Now, here we come to another chapter. So to summarize, a gray crane has long hidden toes that enable it to roost in trees. One of only two species of crane that can do this, the other being the black-crowned crane. The gray-crowned crane, being Uganda's national bird, is featured on the country's coat of arms and flag. That's because of its abundance in that country. As of now, Kenya has the largest number of cranes, then Uganda, and then other countries like South Africa. Now, question for you. So which is Michigan's state bird? If you say robin, you're very right. So when the Englishmen arrived in America, on the East Coast, they saw the robin. And there they thought, well, that looks like one of our birds back home, our robin. So they called it a robin, or the American robin, because it resembled their own back in England. But did you know the American robin, therefore, was chosen to be the state bird back in 1931? So many names had come, they had tried so many names, but it had been since the Audubon Society, Michigan Audubon Society, realized this bird always shows up early in winter. So and will stay with us, and very friendly, they decided to name it the Michigan's state bird. And therefore, sponsors call it a robin, the best known and the best loved of all the birds in the state of Michigan, because they say it brings luck early in spring. It is a very wise bird, they say, and therefore it's Michigan's state bird. Currently, when it comes back, we come back to the gray crane. They are classified as endangered, and their numbers today are decreasing. And this is all because we continue to to move into areas where they migrate or where they naturally live. Here at the Detroit Zoo, we have two crowned cranes, and we also have Sandhill cranes. Two males. I actually just went out there to see them. And if you pass by, they will be there, and you will notice how wise these birds are. Just gracious, incredibly wonderful birds. Now, for more virtual dose of vitamin Z, please visit Detroit Zoo Facebook Live and or DetroitZoo.org website. Until next time, kwaheri, goodbye.